Hello everyone and welcome to today's online class for class 10. Now we are going to study about the few example of reactions of nonmetals. The first chemical reaction of nonmetal that we are going to study is that the reaction of nonmetals with oxygen. So when a nonmetal reacts with oxygen, it produces oxide of that nonmetal. When nonmetal reacts with oxygen, they produce oxides of the nonmetals. If we try to study and very simple and well-known example of this chemical reaction of nonmetal with oxygen, the first thing that comes into our mind is the reaction of carbon with oxygen. So when carbon reacts with oxygen, it produces carbon dioxide gas. An oxide of carbon. A chemical reaction will be carbon, solid state, reacting with oxygen in air, produces CO2 gas. This is the most common example of a carbon, of a nonmetal carbon reaction of carbon with oxygen to produce the oxide of carbon, which is nothing but carbon dioxide. Now in next few examples we are further going to study different types of nonmetal and see how they react and what are the oxide of those nonmetal depending on the nonmetal that we will be taking as example. In the last example of reaction of carbon with oxygen, we take the simplistic approach. Carbon do not just simply add with oxygen and form carbon dioxide. Initially, carbon burns with insufficient amount of oxygen produce carbon monoxide. The chemical formula of carbon monoxide is CO. It is gaseous in nature and also very toxic. And along with it, heat is generated after the reaction. Now, so to produce this chemical reaction in the reaction format, it will look like carbon, which is solid in nature, is burned in presence of insufficient amount of oxygen gas. Insufficient means the amount of when a chemical reaction occurs by the reaction of one reactant with other reactant and produce a certain product, both the reactant needed in a certain amount to react with each other. If it is not, the desired reaction may not occur at all, or maybe the desired product will be completely different. In the case of this one, oxygen is taken as insufficient, means the carbon needed the amount of oxygen to react. We are providing insufficient amount of oxygen. In that case, carbon will react with this insufficient oxygen and carbon monoxide gas will produce, and heat energy will be generated after this reaction. This is the reaction of carbon. When the when we are reacting this carbon with insufficient amount of oxygen, what will happen when the oxygen is in sufficient amount? Carbon dioxide will be produced. But when sufficient amount of oxygen react with carbon, carbon dioxide will be produced, and heat energy generated after the reaction. So the chemical reaction in the form of the equation will look like carbon solid plus O2 gas in sufficient amount burned is heated, produces carbon dioxide gas and heat energy. Now, these two reactions is occurred, and we have seen these two reactions in nature many times. Like any wood material we use to generate heat, like when we in village areas still now, or in previous days when we need to cook our food, we used wood material as a burning material. So wood are nothing but carbon based compound. So when wood are burning, actually carbon is burning in the presence of oxygen, and carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide is produced. As a result, as heat in the form of energy, as energy in the form of heat is generated during this reaction, after the reaction, this heat energy then we use for the cooking purpose. This is the very well documented, well known experiment that we always, or well known reaction that we see in our day-to-day life. Carbon reacting with oxygen in air, insufficient oxygen in air, producing carbon monoxide, which is toxic. And when it is reacting with oxygen in air in the sufficient amount, in that case it produces carbon dioxide, and in both the reaction heat energy is generated. Now we are going to study about two reaction of non-metals, very well known non-metal with oxygen. These next two example of reaction of non-metals with oxygen are very well known to us also. The first one is when hydrogen reacts with oxygen produces water molecule. The chemical reaction for water molecule is H2O. The chemical formula is hydrogen. It is gaseous in nature. Reacts with oxygen, that is also gaseous in nature. Reacts with each other, produces water molecule, two molecules of water, which is liquid in nature. The next reaction that we are going to study is the reaction of sulfur with oxygen. We know that sulfur, when reacts with oxygen, produces sulfur dioxide. We have seen it. We have seen when sulfur is heated, it catches fire and white powder of sulfur dioxide is precipitated out. The reaction is when sulfur is burned in oxygen with oxygen, it catches fire and produces sulfur dioxide. The chemical reaction for this one is sulfur solid reacts with oxygen gas. When it is heated, sulfur dioxide gas is produced. Now, in the whole example of these non-metals of reaction with oxygen, if you see that the reaction with non-metals that we have taken is carbon is in solid form, hydrogen in gaseous form, sulfur again in solid form. So the first property, physical property that we had studied, that the non-metals can be found in either in solid, either in gas or in liquid form. The second thing that you need to notice is that all of them are reacting with oxygen, which in itself is a non-metal. So the reaction example that we are studying is the example of reaction of non-metals with another non-metal, which is specifically oxygen, and producing a compound known as the oxides of these respective non-metals.